Just to get started, where and when did you discover the blues?
It's a little bit off the wall. I had started picking up playing harmonica in my hometown. I grew up in a little farm town in northwest Ohio, and I picked up harmonica. And from my interest in harmonica, I picked up the blues. I started buying blues records because that's where all the good harmonica stuff was.
Yeah.
And I got hooked. I was buying Howlin' Wolf records and Little Walrus, Sonny Boy Williams and stuff like that. And as well as a lot of rock and roll records and stuff as well. From Rolling Stones, J. Giles Band, things like that too. But I really got obsessed with the blues. I was buying Living Blues magazines, and this was back when it was Jim O'Neill had it, and had Living Blues, and it was all in black and white, and it was coming out of Chicago. It wasn't coming out of University of Mississippi back then. I guess this was probably around 1976, 77. And so I'd read about all these guys too, and also find out about all the good records and things. And but my dream was to come to the big city and play with the old black guys. That's what I wanted to do. And so as soon as I got the opportunity, that's what I did. And I moved down here to Houston in 1981, and kind of immersed myself in the music culture, blues culture here in Houston, playing with the old guys and stuff. And that's how I got started.
As far as the harmonica goes, you're pretty much a self-taught player?
Pardon?
Were you pretty much self-taught as far as the harmonica goes?
My dad could play a little bit, but I grew up around guitar players. And one guitar player friend of mine in particular, he coached me. Even though he couldn't play a lick of harmonica, he knew music pretty well and coached me. And when I got down here, gosh, to Houston, I could play before I got here. I'd been playing for 5 or 6 years, but when I got here, you could see all the touring bands come through town, and plus, frankly, you could see the Fabulous Thunderbirds, about any time you wanted in Houston. And so I could go see Kim Wilson, quite frequently and watch him and study him. And plus, you go see some of the touring blues acts, Carrie Bell and guys like that as well.
Yeah.
So you get a chance to watch people like that too.
Fantastic learning experience.
Yeah, and sitting in a jam session, there's a few local players. Houston, there's just all kinds of, there's a jam session every night of the week down here. And you could sit in jam sessions and you go home and study something and then go out the next night and play it in a jam session. And that's pretty much how that worked out.
Now, just reading a bit about you, I believe you're a rather rebellious type of kid as a young boy.
Yeah, I was a little firecracker as a kid growing up. I was real ornery. Yeah, I was a nice kid, I think, but I was very rebellious. I didn't do well in school or anything like that at the time. I went to college down here later on, but when I was a kid, it didn't. I guess it was the times, because I was sort of on the back end of all the. I was still a kid, but you grew up and you saw, body counts of Vietnam, and adults were really kind of like the enemy back then because they were real square and very narrow-minded, it seemed like. And, probably for a creative youth, I don't know if I felt like I probably got as much support as I probably needed, at that age, too. So at least that's how I felt.
So you'd say music played a big role in putting you on the straight and narrow?
Pardon?
You'd say music played a big role in getting your life on the road, on straight again?
Yeah, it really got me on the right track. I mean, it gave me something as a kid,
Yeah.
And it gave me something to focus on. And, it really did everything for me as a person. I mean, it really brought out, the me in me. And, because it focuses you, use your intelligence and you study and you actually apply yourself to something. And, it's done everything for me. It really has. I mean, I would probably say that music saved my life. I wouldn't know where I'd be without it.
Yeah.
It would have been a waste,
Tell us about Voyager, a band that you were involved with in your early days.
It was just a rock band.
Yeah.
Kids rock. They were older than me, but my friend played guitar in it, and I started out playing sound or doing sound for them and playing harp on a few songs. And I got real popular, just playing a few songs, and then they kept adding more harmonica songs to the band. The thing about it was a straight cover band, but the thing about it was I had to learn stuff right, in order to be able to play in the band, because they were sort of, like I said, they were a real strict kind of cover band.
Mm.
So I would have to learn all those J. House tunes and Blackfoot tunes and, even Ozark Mountain Daredevil songs, things like that. I would have to learn them pretty much note for note to be able to play them in the band. And, which was really good because, I learned how to do things right. And even today, I don't know if you'll hear harmonica players just kind of, I guess, sort of wail away, but they don't really, they don't really have any discipline they're playing or anything.
Yeah, yeah.
And so I learned how to study. When I learned how to, back then I was learning how to study, you learn stuff right. And then eventually, I mean, now I don't even think about things like that, though. I just make up my own licks. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I just make up my own stuff now. Doesn't even cross my mind to copy anything lick for lick, but it's a really good way to learn how to play. Because really you don't want to be a watered down, you don't really want to be a watered down musician. So having some sort of form and discipline, I think, is pretty good when you're starting out.
How much did you know about the Texas blues scene before you relocated there? Did you know what to expect when you got there?
Honestly, I knew enough about Big Walter Price, and a little bit because I would read about it, but frankly, I had never, before I come here, I never heard of the T-Birds, and I never had heard of Stevie Vaughan or anything like that. I'd heard Albert Collins, obviously.
Yeah.
And obviously Lightning Hopkins. I knew Lightning Hopkins was from down here. But when I got here, I was so surprised and I felt so blessed. It was like you felt like your spirit took you here for a reason,
mm-hmm.
because there was a wide open scene. And there's nowhere else in the world a guy like me could have came to. First of all, you come to Houston, it's, it's a little bit hard breaking in. At first, I couldn't buy a gig in Houston, and then I started hanging out with Uncle John Turner, who was Johnny Winter's drummer,
Yep.
back in the day. And started hanging out with him, and he kind of was a mentor of sorts in a way. And when I started hanging out with him, I started being able to get gigs here and there. So he was a good start. But I had no idea that we had such a music, or that there was so much blues down here, and so much music, period. And another thing about Houston is it's kind of a democratic music scene. So, anybody can get a chance here to play. And there's a lot of little taverns to be able to work and make a living, scratch out a living and playing and stuff, too.
Is there
Pardon?
Is there something about the sound that emanates from the blues bands in Texas that you think distinguishes them from other parts of the States?
The shuffles are real driving. They're real big on the driving shuffles.
Mm-hmm.
Out west, you'll hear this kind of they swing a little bit more. Here they got a little stronger backbeat. There's a little bit of a twang in everybody's playing, I think, down here too.
Yep.
And people will mix in. Of course, blues, takes in all kinds of genres and stuff, but blues down here will take in a little bit of Latin feel, a little bit of Latin accent, and a little bit of twang in the sound and stuff too. I think that's kind of something you'll hear in Lightning Hopkins,
Yeah.
or Juke Boy Bonner, or any of those guys. So you probably won't hear it so much you'll hear it in Gatemouth Brown recordings and stuff, where that swing, like on the swings, it's a real strong backbeat, a real driving backbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas opposed to, I don't know what I compare it to, but it's got a little bit of twang to it. Just about everybody does down here. It rubs off. It definitely rubs off.
What about your Sonny Boy stage name? How was that bestowed upon you?
My real name's Terry Jerome, and I always went by Terry Jerome. And I had always wanted kind of like a stage name or anything, but I don't know. I just could never think of one. And I was at a gig, and we were joking around because there's several musicians around town that would have like Little Junior screaming one hand, blah, blah, this, and they would have all these monikers added on to their monikers. So they had these big, long monikers, and we were just joking around. And I was playing with Jerry Lightfoot at the time. We were doing a jam Sunday night at Fitzgerald's, which is a roadhouse here inside the Loop here in Houston. And I don't know, the idea that the name Sonny Boy Terry came up, and I didn't think anything of it. But the next thing you know, the blues disc jockey from KPFT Radio, he was our MC at that show, and he announced me as Sonny Boy Terry. And then looked over at me and smiled. And then the next day, Marty Racine from the Houston Chronicle, he's the pop music critic, he started printing it as such.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And so it wasn't like, sat up all night trying to think of this name or anything like that. It just sort of happened by itself. And I didn't plan it or name myself that or anything. I probably could have shoot it off, but once they started printing it in the paper and everything, it just kind of became my stage name.
Yeah.
So, anyway.
You've learned to wear it.
Yeah. So I guess I got a lot to live up to. A whole heck of a lot to live up to.
On top of the many bands you've worked in over the years, you also worked in a duo situation for a while. What did that experience gain for you as a player as opposed to being in a band?
I played with Kenny Hebert, and we played little coffee houses, and we also played down in Third Ward on the street corners. And Kenny Hebert was sort of a Lightning Hopkins type player. He was actually a jazz musician that had the Lightning Hopkins thing as a side thing. Mm-hmm. But my experience with Kenny was real rewarding. Number one, because he's a really sweet person, and I'd go down to Third Ward, and I'd take a little rock and throw it up. He lived above this place called Ritzy Lounge on Alameda and Blodgett in Houston, Third Ward. I'd take a little rock and I'd throw it up at his window to get his attention so he know I was there. And the best thing about that was we played, on a street corner on I think it was Alameda. It was Dowling and Wheeler. and it was called Club Savoy. And that's kind of a famous, well, in the state, it was kind of a famous club. But in later years, it was more like an ice house. And Kenny and I played out there on the street corner right there in Third Ward, right on the street corner. You know, they had barbecue, and you know, I was the only white face around, and we just hung out and played, you know, Lightning Hopkins songs and stuff like that, and some originals and stuff. And so that was a really good experience because we were hanging out, you know, just right on the street corner, and all the folks would come up. Sometimes people would come up, Lightning Hopkins pictures, you know, and show them to us and tell us about the days, you know, that Lightning used to play down there and everything. And, you know, you're just so close to the people. And I just got a really nice, warm reception playing those little places over in Houston's Third Ward. It was really sweet. It was a really nice experience. You know, we only had about an hour and a half worth of material. It wasn't like we could just go and go and go. Yeah, because like I said, Kenny was primarily a jazz musician.
Yeah.
But we had a great time. Kenny died 2 years ago, and yeah, I miss him. He's a great guy. Really, really fun spirit to play with. He was a really nice, funny guy. He's a really funny person. So we had a good time. It was really a good experience.
Now, I believe you're the founder of the Houston Blues Society. Is that right?
Yeah, I started that in 1993. At the time, I was Joe Guitar Hughes, and I was also pretty close to Johnny Copeland at the time, you know, and of course Pete Mays and different guys like that. So I had pretty much an inside way of making something happen. So I organized a meeting, me and a couple friends, and we organized a meeting. I had an old friend print up T-shirts, 50 T-shirts, you know. So I invested $300 to get the organization started. And we held a big meeting over in Third Ward. It was Club Matinee, not the original Club Matinee that you would know about it from, you know, the Duke Peacock days, but they had the same name. It was actually in South Park, which is a little bit south of Third Ward here in Houston. So we organized a big meeting and sent out publicity, you know, and press and everything. We had a big turnout. There's 200 or 300 people showed up, and that night we started a Houston Blues Society. And then I got a lawyer, you know, to do all the tax exempt stuff for me, and I ran the organization for the 6 months prior to any kind of elections or anything like that, any type of real organization. And then I was president for 3 years. And my last year we won a KBA for the, you know, the W.C. Handy Awards and the Blues Alive Award. So won that award, and at that point I had had enough. So I gave it up and just focused on my playing and stuff after that. And it's pretty rewarding. It was very rewarding. I mean, I learned a lot about the industry and stuff, and you know, we gave a lot of attention. You know, the big thing for me is it promoted the local scene. You know, and out of that, you know, Roger Wood wrote that book down in Houston, and you know, at that time he was getting you know, nearly all his contact information, you know, through the Blues Society and stuff. And so there's a lot of positives that led to it. And so it's done some good. You know, the big thing is it promoted the scene and made people more aware of that Houston has had a really huge, made a huge contribution to the blues in America. You know, Mississippi Wallace, Lightning Hopkins, Duke Boy Bonner, Albert Collins, even Johnny Guitar Watson was raised here, you know, and Joe Guitar Hughes, Kate Mouth, Johnny Copeland. You know, even today, Trudy Lynn, Sherman Robertson lives here. You know, some great players are right from here.
Fantastic names.
So, yeah, I mean, it's we just don't have that industry here that, of course, during the Peacock days and back then, you know, they had a bunch of little labels and stuff, and and plus we had to do Peacock, but there's a lot of blues here. You know, Texas Johnny Brown lives here. Jimmy T99 Nelson, you know, lives here. So we got a heck of a little blues scene in Houston. So, you know, like I said, a guy like me come to Houston, I mean, that's a blessing. You know, I don't know how else to describe it. You could have never been smart enough to bring myself here. You know, I don't know how to explain it, but that's how you feel when there's a lot. It's a very rich experience.
Did it take time for you to develop a confidence in yourself as a front man fronting your own band after all those years playing with others?
I think Joe did that. Playing with Joe Guitar Hughes did that. I had sang, but I never really sang a lot. And that was the hardest part. Because playing with Joe, by the time I got done playing with Joe, I knew how to run a band. And I knew how to do everything, you know, that it takes. Plus, I think doing that Blues Society stuff, because you're in a leadership position, et cetera, you know. I think that I didn't really have any other place to go unless it was like a touring act or something to play sideman in. But as far as here locally, there wasn't really much else for me to do. The big thing was just really getting confident in my singing, and also, and something that it's still a challenge is writing songs, you know, because you have to be yourself, you have to be your own artist, and but singing is takes a lot of you got to do it to open up your timbre, you know, to your voice, to where you can sing real strong. And even now I can tell, you know, I get on stage and I'll be singing and sort of going about my way, but once I blow a big old harmonica solo and kind of wind myself a little bit, my voice automatically gets stronger. You're right there on stage, so it takes a little bit to get that timbre belt, and I have to really stay, you know, I have to work at that. Even today, I have to still work at it. So, which, you know, it's kind of a challenge. So even doing as well as I do, my singing's still, you know, 20 years behind my harp playing. So, it's work. You know, I have to choose what I'm best suited for and stuff too.
What about recording in the studio, Terry? Yours is a music that would thrive in a live situation. Is that difficult to maintain that in a studio situation without an audience to feed back on?
For me, people say that, you know, they say a lot, oh, the blues sounds better live and stuff. For me, though, I don't know. Once a player gets in there, you know, and you get a good groove going on, and you can really bring out the best of the instruments, too, you know, with good recording equipment, too, as well. So I don't know. You know, and you can make your tempos live. You can keep doing takes until you find the right, you know, exactly where you want your tempos to live. So I don't see where it's just different.
Yeah.
It's not any better. You know, you got to have the songs. But one thing is you can find exactly where your tempo lives when you're in the studio. Oh. And that's one good thing about that. Plus, you can play back and listen to yourself. If you don't like it, you can do it again.
Sure. But Jeff, just about got to let you go. I'm nearly out of studio time. What's coming up for you for the rest of this year?
Oh, Lord. We're playing the Navasota Blues Festival.
Oh, yeah.
Which is, and the proceeds benefit the Mansfield Scholarship Fund. So got that going on. And, oh, boy, you know, a lot of juke joints, a lot of taverns, you know, a lot of little regional traveling and such. I'm trying to get zeroed in. I have a new guitar player in my band. He plays slide and a lot of open tunings and stuff. Mm-hmm. And I'm trying to zero in and try to focus on a new CD.
Fantastic.
You know, I'm working on new material and stuff like that right now. And it's a whole different style, different sound, different aspect of the Houston music culture. A little more rocking, which is good, you know, for me.
Yeah.
because I can just do a different avenue to express myself. So I'm gonna have some fun with it. I'm enjoying the guys a lot too. They're real good little players and good people. So, but that's the big thing is the Nashville Blues Festival coming up here, and they take care of it. Just laid back country, lots of good barbecue. You know, folks talk a lot slower out there, out there in the country.
Sounds good. Terry, thanks for your time. It's been a treat to catch up with you and learn a bit about you, and hopefully we can get you down here for our Blues Festival season. It'd be terrific to see you down under.
I would love that someday. That would be an honor and a pleasure. It really would. Thank you very, very much.
Thanks for taking time out so early for you.
Sir. Thank you very much.
No worries.
Bye.
Thanks, Terry. Bye-bye.